Hello everyone, welcome to the another episode of the Industry Tales podcast. This is Lakshit Pant from Azure Developer Community. In this podcast series, we have been exploring the amazing world of technology, startups, AI, and especially the future of Indian ecosystem from AI per se. Today we have our industry leader, Dr. Ravi, so here Director of AI and Emerging Technologies at Compunnel. Today we'll be discussing about AI leadership, the evolution of general AI, AGI stuff, the impact of AI, copilots, and etc. So to quickly kick off the podcast series, I would quickly request Ravi to please introduce yourself first.
Thank you, Lakshit, and hello, everyone. Uh, it's really a kind of a great surprise element for us that we are going to connect on the most eminent platform today, discussing all the nitty-gritties of AI, hidden realms of AI, and not only that, we are going to focus on how exactly we can democratize AI for everybody. Before we go ahead into the discussion, let me introduce myself. So I'm Dr. Ravi Changle. Uh, in 2006, I started my career, my journey in terms of analytics. Since then, I had been working in n number of dimensions, fixing up the major critical aspects of global financial institutions, wherein there were the kind of US subprime crisis kind of evidence which were taken place in 2008, 7, 8 around. Post that, we have seen the kind of advent of with the advent of big data practices, with the practices in machine learning and the data science operations from 2012, wherein Harvard has published the entire white paper on what data science is all about and how exactly it would be the job for 21st century. I think from there it all started in my career also, that I came into the era of AI, machine learning, data science, and whatnot. Working with different institutions like the World Bank, Fidelity Investments, Wells Fargo, John Deere, Science Technologies, right from farming equipment manufacturers to aerospace engineering, had been working in different dimensions with everybody with major organizations in terms of uh, helping them to strategize their machine learning operations, that is MLOps, and AI operations. So, witness the growth of how AI is evolving within the business ecosystem, and how can they leverage AI over a period of time, resolving their major business challenges with strategic, tactical, and operational objectives. Having said that, having 15 to 20 years of experience within different domains, especially in terms of AI and machine learning and data science, today I would like to say that I'm also into the global task force, wherein we are talking about AI and cybersecurity there. Also,
Wow.
we are working on, let's say, some of the projects like your Cyber Eagle project, wherein we're going to revolutionize how exactly I would be leveraged for cybersecurity globally. And not only that, uh, being with the major players from United Nations, especially the AI ambassadors over there, working in tandem with Forbes Technology Council and the eminent personalities which I'm talking about from the United Nations. So aligning that how exactly we can leverage AI for good. This AI for good initiatives are basically for a social good. So I'll discuss something very interesting from that perspective as well. Right now,
Sure.
it's over to you, Lakshit, again, and if you can let me know what exactly are these agendas which you have in mind.
Yeah, so starting from the very first point when you mentioned like the when you were exploring about the AI and data science field back then in 2012, right, the year that you have mentioned, I really wanted to know what key identification metrics was there that in your mind that led you to start the journey in the field of AI and technology, right? And and how does your role specifically looks like at Computer? If you could just quickly explain it at the moment, what was the initial thought when you have started and what you are doing at present? What are the two differences or maybe the two similarities that you see at the moment?
Everything is aligned, globally. So if you have seen the, ikigai principle, which says that when you're working it, you should have the love and affection towards what you're doing. It should serve the global need, right? Same, you should also have monetary gains also, in whatever you do, whatever solutions you build in, it should definitely bring monetary valuations to the company. Not only that, you should be at your level best when it comes to skills. Aligning that, what I have found is when the US subprime crisis occurred, in 2007 around, that particular was the major setback factor for me, because most of the companies, most of the industries, and especially most of the economies were failure. But you know what? Amongst the entire nations, India was still leading with 18% of a growth rate in even that kind of crisis. When I was having a discussion, with one of the chief manager from eminent regulatory authority while we were traveling together, I asked that how exactly we the Indians, are working against the adversaries, even if there is an adversarial situation, how exactly we are able to cope it up. And he mentioned that it's not because of uh, any strategy or any tactics we are actually being saved from the major crisis. It's only the reason that we are not having those complex derivative tools or instruments in financial aspects. So we are not exposed to risk. So there is no risk, and there is no kind of a return kind of a perspective. So it moved me a lot. It means that though there is a crisis, we are still going on, but we are actually in the state of ignorance because we are not having right set of tools, technologies to understand these market gimmicks, and we were able to still be out of that risk. So one aspect is we are out of the risk, but second aspect is we are not having that kind of intellectual understanding on how to leverage these kind of derivative instruments from the especially in terms of using it from the investment side than the speculation side. There I entered into my doctorate program, wherein I did it in the realm of identifying the risk of the global public and private banks. Was able to model the kind of innovate the models which could help us to get the forecast of the risk which exactly the global banks could have in future. So working in tandem to the kind of the Basel norms, working in tandem to the kind of risk management practices of the global banks, I have found that when it comes to the artificial intelligence or machine learning use cases which we bring into this ecosystem of BFSI, not only BFSI, I will mention that in aerospace, I've been working and have leveraged satellite imagery and processing for and most of the use cases. This can actually give more maximum value to us. So it is
Yeah,
like if you got the real crux here, Lakshit, what exactly is the major agenda? Number one, whatever we are going to do in AI, it can be used in three different ways. AI can be used in a state of ignorance. We are not aware and we are simply using it. What could be the pros and cons? AI could be used in a state of passion, wherein we are using AI to make money and business out of it. At the same time, AI could be used in terms of a state of goodness, wherein we can contribute a lot to the society, and it would be what we can say the savior for the entire climate, entire planet as a whole. So, from that perspective, also AI is going to be very crucial. I'm
yeah,
sure you are going to
absolutely.
see some more questions relevant, but yeah, we can go ahead further. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions aligned in the similar forefront, but because while I was doing my homework for this podcast, right, I saw two, quite uh, these two terms that led my attention, right? These, like, the first one is the Forbes Technology Council, right? I really wanted to know more about this. Second is the concept of Chief AI Officer as a service. If you can just enlighten and just throw some light upon it, it would be really great from AI adoption journey. Yeah.
So let me talk about something from the membership. As a council member, when I'm working with Forbes Technology Council, what do we do there? So at Forbes Technology Council, we have different communities. When I say different communities, it means that we are working on different emerging technologies. So we have the groups which exactly work on quantum technologies. We have groups which are dedicatedly working in AI. We are having the technology groups which are working especially in terms of fintech and the other relevant areas. So we have 18 to 20 different technology groups out there with very much higher hyper specialization kind of perspective they are dealing with. When it comes to the such a major platform, when we are dealing with a number of the CXOs, right? Especially when it comes to technology side, what do you do over there is you identify what exactly is happening in the market, so you better understand the scenario globally. You're all connected together on a single platform. The decision makers are there, the kind of other stakeholders are there. So definitely they help us to understand what are the major challenges they are facing. Once the challenges are identified, we then whosoever is having those resolutions, they exchange their ideas, their technological innovations amongst the group mates. And what happens over there, once we give a particular solution, or we particularly present a kind of a publication globally, Then they validate it. They validate in the given context of the challenge they were facing, the kind of recommendation we are providing. Is it a kind of a proper fit for their organization to implement those solutions? So it's like an asset testing. It means that we can readily test and implement what exactly solutions could be there for potential challenges and problems, especially from the strategic perspective, because there all the strategic leaders are there. It doesn't mean that we are not handling the operational challenges. They could be, but the thing is, majorly we focus on strategic challenges with the corporate care, facing from the technology perspective. So that's where exactly the Forbes Technology Council role comes to play. And once we are done with the kind of solutioning and identifying some kind of innovative tools, platforms, technologies, right? We then try to publish the same with proper validation from the Forbes core team to the external world. And if you see, there are, let's say, 5 to 7 different major articles which are published, even published in the area of having an urge to have unified data and AI governance platform altogether. So it's going hand in hand together. So that's where the Forbes Technology Council is basically playing a vital role globally. Then your next question was, how
Yeah, it
exactly does
was.
AI officer as a service play a vital role from company side? So when it comes to the chief AI officer as a service, it means that we are offering the thought leadership to the kind of eminent organizations wherein they are facing certain dilemmas in terms of taking decisions where exactly how exactly they can introduce AI, what could be the right set of use cases they need to prioritize at this time, how they can meet their strategic vision, mission, or let's say the corporate objectives, improvising the stakeholders' wealth. Right, that's what exactly the major agendas which we are facing these days. In most of the research reports, it is found that the major challenge which any organization is facing is how to get or how to even communicate the value which can be generated by implementation of AI, right? So AI can be used in multiple ways. It can be a kind of a tool or a system or an agent for you. It can be a kind of a process wherein we can integrate all the aspects of automation to decision making to even resolving the basic objective level challenges, like is operational challenges to tactical and in strategic level challenges. So at every
Right.
level, chief AI as a officer as a service can offer the thought leadership, can offer the handholding to the organizations where they are facing major challenges around these strategies, operations, or the tactical level of decision making. Yep.
See, when you say leadership, right, I just wanted to make it again more transparent. How does this strategy, AI, leadership drive business transformation? Because ultimately, for the organization, business is what matters, right? The money, the cash flow that is there, and why is it so crucial for any company at different stages for AI adoption at the moment? And maybe a follow-up question could be, in your opinion, what's the the potential way or maybe of general AI across various sectors?
Exactly. So let me take it one by one. So the very first thing is exactly we need to understand is what exactly artificial intelligence is all about, right? So artificial intelligence, as you see, it's basically a kind of a what we can say manual mechanism when we are using that particular. I think we can reiterate this. I mean, I need to reiterate that, so you can cut down over here. I'm again
Sure.
starting. Yeah. So before we go ahead, we need to understand what artificial intelligence is all about. So artificial intelligence is nothing else but a system of operations wherein we create an ecosystem of automation. We create a system of a kind of a response mechanism to whatever we are getting in terms of the kind of problems we are facing in the organizations. So it means that it is not a kind of a tool or a service. Please understand, it's like a kind of a system which incubates the solution for the organizations at different levels. So AI can also be into different areas in different levels of adoption rates. AI could be in different levels of maturity. So to begin with, you need to understand that if I'm working on AI system which has a kind of a proper feedback mechanism in terms of what are the challenges we are facing, and then how do we resolve that particular challenges with respect to the artificial intelligence, we need to know that I can leverage the artificial intelligence in different ways. I can have artificial intelligence at the process levels. I can have artificial intelligence at the kind of making my particular system automated, and at the same time it could be helping me to devise a kind of a decision making platform for different business functions. Now, when it comes to different business functions where AI is actually adopted, is uh, there are different layers of aspects and stakeholdership when it comes to the business, right from the suppliers, tier 1 2 3 suppliers, to the OEMs, to the wholesalers, to retailers. You can see that there is a kind of a supply chain which exists, and there are different stakeholders. At every level of a stakeholder, there are some business functions which are operating: supply chain, marketing, finance, IT, operations, customer relationship management, logistics. These are major business functions which any business unit would have. Even the finance section, account section, like that. Within every business function, now the world is understanding that AI can be leveraged in optimizing time, money, and efforts. So the major utility of implementing AI into any business function, right from the supplier to the end user, is that how can we save time? How can we scale up our operations? How can we reduce the cost which is involved in the uh, in the entire production process or in offering the service process, so we can run at the economies to scale. And at the same time, how exactly I can have less effort involved, maybe the human efforts which could be involved in offering that solutions, because it's all about business. It's buying and selling, right? So we are actually improvising the entire process of buying and selling by leveraging AI services.
A kind of a follow-up question on this part as well only, right? When we talk about organizations perspective, right? Because this is a major problem at the moment that we often talk about in the industry. It's more about the importance of ethical AI and how businesses can ensure that the use of responsible AI is happening, because ultimately a couple of times these people, the user, are very concerned about their data interoperability and whatnot, right? Their data security and data theft. So how do one could ensure? So are we saying that these GDPR compliance, all these certifications, CCA certifications are good enough to make sure that any particular organizations are, that they are preventing from the data or AI loss or whatnot, right? So is it good enough to say, make this statement, or what exactly, right? Or is there any alternate source for it?
So let me give you the final answer to it, and I think it would be out of box way to discuss it. So before I answer it, can you give me the major reason, Lakshit, that what is what is that particular reason which is basically driving the organizations? Or in other way, if I ask you that, what is that important factor which is very very important for any business?
Yeah, it's their user, right? Nothing else than user. That user is something which drives the organizations, right?
But actually, if you see, you drill it further, the users are exactly not, leveraging what offerings we are making, right? Sometimes we have, we are pushing the demand, sometimes we are having pulling the demand kind of concept. So that's manageable, that can be manipulated, right? We can create the demand also, that is the another thing, and that can keep on changing. But over a period of time, you will understand that the major significant aspect of any business is the life of a business. Most of the startups, they fail. Out of, let's say, 100, only two startups would sustain, not only in our country but globally. You know why? Only 2% are succeeding, rest of 98% they fail, because they don't have that envisioning capacity to add value to the life of the business. They're myopic in terms of making profitability, they're myopic in terms of making the stakeholder relationships. They cannot sustain that relationship for a longer duration, and therefore they fail. And how exactly that relationship can go for a longer, what is the major factor which exactly is very important in longevity of any relationship within the ecosystem of internal business versus the external stakeholder system, be it your shareholders, be your bankers, be it your consumers? What is that factor,
It's,
Lakshit?
yeah, it's more about how their demand and supply, right? How they're using it. Yeah.
It's about trust.
Ah, okay.
It's all
Yes.
about trust. So the moment you are losing a trust, you are breaking that relationship forever. And there is no replacement of that particular trust being broken. So when any data breach is there, when any ethical practice is there, when a particular organization fails to meet the customer demands in time, when a particular because that's a false promise, right? The customer demand is not met, and we were claiming that we'll be helping you with this kind of solutions, products, etc., right? So those particular incidents exactly demoralize the kind of the motivation of consumers. So you're right that the users are actually the very much is a kind of a very important stakeholder for business. But in my opinion, it's majorly the life of a business which exactly drives everything. So if you see those organizations wherein they are having presence since 130 years, 140 years, they have that affordability, they have that capabilities wherein they can win the trust of their customers, they can win the trust of their financiers, and therefore the ecosystem is running in a better way. And now, how exactly AI would be leveraged here, and what we need to consider in AI is we should definitely have ethical AI practices, because when we are leveraging AI or machine learning models or data science operations, we are actually exposing the data of our clients, customers, to the external world. What is the external world here? So if I'm using a compute, right, a kind of a machine learning compute, that compute is coming from a third party platform, for example, right? We don't have the hardware, we don't have the software in this play in our system. And what we are going to do is we leverage some cloud service. What if the data is compromised? What if the PIs are compromised? So even we have certifications, even if we have those validations, they are just to support you that you are qualified, you are a qualified organization which is free of any kind of data breach risk so far. But you cannot guarantee that this same trade would be continued forever. So, as a social responsibility, we need to understand that when we are using or leveraging AI, it has to be with the utmost transparency. It has to be with proper responsible AI practices. And there are 18 different principles, if you dig it further, in responsible AI practices we follow at Compunnel. So, when we devise any solution for any client, to the delivery, and even after the delivery we keep a check on how can we leverage human AI experience within our solutioning. And that's where we are, that's what exactly makes us different, globally, that we consider these kind of aspects to be the utmost importance, because I told you that for any business the longevity of a business is very important than doing business just for the sake of doing it or earning the profits.
Yeah, that's something you said very fair, and that's why most of the time business doesn't sustain, right? Now, when we are talking about all these long-term aspects, right? But how do you identify new business opportunities through the use of AI and emerging technologies? And what do you feel like which sector has the most probable possibility of where they can utilize AI and bring some, maybe $1 billion, can be $1 billion, organizations, or maybe not from money making perspective, can be the next big thing in the industry from the market or from the sector perspective. Is it coming from healthcare? Is it coming from med tech? What is in or ed tech, or what's kind of innovation where what's
You
happening
know,
inside?
Lakshit, Lakshit, AI is everywhere. Any business setup, any organization setup, be it an NGO or be it a kind of government body, within 3 years timeline, if they don't adopt AI, their businesses would be at very very huge risk. I tell you, there are n number of aspects we need to understand, and AI is everywhere. It means that not only healthcare, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, or let's say the big giants in consulting, they are going to leverage AI only. No, it's not that. Even to the school level, if you go to the primary schooling also, there also AI is going to have a great disruption. The way exactly we used to teach children, a couple of years back, and right now after the the post COVID wave also, if you see, there is a drastic change over there in terms of understanding the scenarios very quickly, understanding how to respond to a kind of a critical challenge over there. So it is like now AI is evolving as a thought process. AI is
Right.
nowhere a kind of a tool or a service exactly. Basically, it's a kind of a thought process we need to have. That's why when I say about Chief AI as a officer service program, therein also we are making it very clear that we are offering thought leaderships, right? Because this has been evolved like a kind of a journey from the kind of mechanical aspects to physical, now to conscious level, getting it. So now AI and the people, they are working on the consciousness level of introducing AI with utmost what we can say transparency in terms of decision making, giving in the aid to the CXOs so that they can blindly use AI, leverage AI for their decision making process, be it complex decision. And therein the automations are happening even into replace most of the fancy jobs like CEOs, right? You might have seen that how AI agent basically is now working as a CEO globally.
Now, I have a lots of questions to ask, but due to paucity of time, we have to keep it short. But at last, I would really like to know if there are, what are the key takeaways for our listeners regarding those who are listening to this podcast, right? What future prediction you want to make from AI perspective that's gonna be there for next couple of years.
So as I see, there is a advancement which is happening right now, will also be happening, in AI. As I mentioned, that we are moving from the stage of artificial, let's say, narrow intelligence to artificial general intelligence, and we'll be seeing the era wherein we'll be working on artificial super intelligence. Now we cannot create life from a matter, right? We cannot create have a spontaneous life which can be created from matter, so that won't be the case. But the thing is that what we can expect is that AI would be either working as my colleague, would be working as my subordinate, and sometimes it could happen that I would be reporting to my AI officer, and that would be an
Right.
issue. It means that these kind of aspects we need to take into consideration. If I talk about customers also, in 2026 you'll find the wave of machine customers. Right now it's like machine sellers, like you have automated seller platforms, right? You have drop shipping platforms, you have automated selling platforms. You will see the era wherein the customers will be leveraging AI and will be getting the best fit product service for them. It means that we'll be having the era of machine customers. Machine customer is going to be another evolution wherein the negotiation of pricing, the negotiation of discussions regarding the the kind of the alternatives we have to offer would be happening between two different agents. One, automated seller. Second, automated buyer. And it would be very interesting to witness those kind of things wherein actually the AI agent is selling a product or a service to another AI agent who is sitting at the buyer side, and this is going to happen by 2026. Post that, what you see is there AI is going to be integrated in every aspect of life, be it your education, be it your social service, be it your aerospace engineering. Everywhere you'll find that AI is evolved, because if you understand, we had Delphi technique to work out on decision making perspective earlier. It moved to the kind of judgmental to other kind of methodologies in place. uh, right now AI is going to win over that particular thing, and AI would be the decision makers for the organizations, and it would be a system well operating to help the organizations understand, help the organizations attain their objectives, goals, visions, everything for from 20 years down the line kind of scenarios to day-to-day operation wise challenges and meeting them. Now for the entire audience, if I talk about whosoever is listening this podcast, I would say that just understand a very one single aspect of AI. Whatever you're doing, maybe you are a student, maybe you are a CXO, maybe you are actually a kind of a person who is actually interested in research and development, or maybe you are an author, right? Just try to see that what use case I can think of at this moment which can make my life easy, and I'm making the same money which I was about to making earlier, but it's now done by an agent. For example, if I'm writing a book, right? Earlier, I used to write a book, and then there is a hectic process of scaling that particular book to the market, and then getting the kind of revenues coming in and the royalties coming in. So that was a lengthy period, like even 1 to 2 years down the line. These days, AI is even working in the fastest way, and I am seeing the publishers, they are launching their books, they are getting their revenues, they are getting their royalties within a couple of months only. So it is for those particular users. So from the healthcare perspective, from the manufacturing perspective, you all can understand that whatever role I'm playing, can it be played by an automated agent? If yes, you have understood the role of AI, because this artificial intelligence becomes your level of consciousness, wherein you can think, you can act altogether without even getting involvement into that activity. So therein, AI is basically going to replace most of the task which everybody is doing, right? I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, that's a very big statement to make and to hear it from someone expert like you coming from, right? So thank you for all your insight. It was lovely speaking with you. It was my pleasure, and for all our listeners who are listening to this podcast, it's scary, but it's already coming. So maybe you should buckle up yourself with some new real industry skills, with some and get used to it. That's what we can just simply say, right? You cannot ignore AI and just pass it through. like a sidekick, right? It's gonna be there for the industry. It will be there in every industry that you can ever witness. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, for listening to this podcast, and thank you, Dr. Ravi, for joining us. It was my pleasure to host you for this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshit. Thanks, everyone.